Hi, my name is Claudia and today we're going to cook a leek and mushroom quiche. But first, I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, so we're going to make our quiche from scratch. We're going to make our own pastry, the filling, and then the flavors we're going to give it are going to be leeks and mushrooms. It's quite an easy recipe to make. You can adapt it to whatever flavors you like. The most famous classic quiche is quiche Lorraine, and that is with leeks and bacon. So the ingredients we need for today, for our pastry we will need 280 grams of plain flour, half the amount of butter, so 140 grams of butter, cold butter cut into cubes, and a little bit of salt. Those are the ingredients for our pastry. For the base of our filling, we need 2 eggs, 280 milliliters of double cream. If you want to make it a bit lighter, you could go half milk, half cream, and 140 grams of any cheese. I've got cheddar cheese here, but it could be Gruyere, it could be a mixture of cheeses. And for our flavors, we've got leeks and mushrooms. We've got 4 leeks here, roughly chopped, and 200 grams of mushrooms, roughly chopped. You will also need a tin, either like a quiche tin or a cake tin, or like a tray where you can just line it with the pastry and fill it up. So the first thing I did when I came in was turn on the oven. At the moment I put it at 200 degrees, so it starts going up to the temperature that we need later. And for the pastry, we're going to start with the flour, put the salt in, mix it through, add the butter, okay, this looks about ready. Now we're going to add a little bit of cold water. This is about 8 tablespoons. And we're going to mix this together into a nice pastry. This needs a little bit more water. There we go. Perfect, and this is our pastry. We've got our pastry ready, and now what we have to do is roll it out into a thin sort of circle, a bit bigger than your tin, so it needs to come around. And this is how we're going to do it. A little bit of flour on the surface, maybe a little bit on your rolling pin as well, so it doesn't stick. And turning it to keep the circular shape. So this is about right, about 2 millimeters thick. We're going to pick it up with a rolling pin. And put it over our tin. Now very carefully start bringing it in. This is quite a small tin, so we'll have some leftover pastry, which you can either put in the fridge for about 2-3 days, or you could freeze it for up to a month. So it's great to do enough quantity for 2 and then keep the other half for another day. Just going to slightly trim out the edges, not fully. We'll leave it hanging over for a bit, because this will avoid the dough shrinking too much when we bake it. Now what we need to do is press it in a bit into the cream cheese. And now we're going to put this in the fridge to rest for about 10 minutes. Now we're going to prepare the base for our filling, which is the eggs, cream, and cheese. We'll pour in the eggs, beat them. Add in the cream, either cream or half cream, half milk, whatever you've decided. And then we're going to add 3/4 of the cheese. The rest we're going to sprinkle on top of the quiche. And this is the base for a filling. Our pastry has been in the fridge for 10 minutes. Now we've taken it out and we're going to make some little holes with our fork. This is to avoid it from rising up when we're baking it. So the very, very official way of baking the pastry is you line it with tin foil and you put some beans inside to keep it nice and flat. But we're going to go the rustic and easy way, which is just poke a few holes and put it in the oven like this. So we're going to put this in the oven now for about 10 minutes until it's slightly golden. While the pastry is in the oven, we are going to fry our leeks and our mushrooms. We'll put a little bit of oil or butter if you have some butter left from the pastry. Put this up to medium heat. Pour in our leeks. And fry them until they are nice and soft. Alright, so once the leeks start softening up, we can add our mushrooms. And we cook this for another 5 minutes, more or less. Okay, this looks ready. We're going to turn it off. And then leave it to cool before we mix it with the egg and cream mix. Perfect, time to finish our filling. We're going to put our veggies or our flavors, whatever you chose to put in here. Remember we've got leeks and mushrooms, into our egg, cream and cheese mix. We mix it all nicely through. Okay, let's see if our pastry is ready. And it's looking beautiful. We are now going to try and trim off the edges. We're nearly there. Let's pour a filling onto our tin. And now we're going to sprinkle the rest of the cheese on top. And this needs to go back in the oven now for about 10 to 15 minutes. Wow, it smells amazing here. Let's see if our quiche is ready. Here we go. Now we just have to leave it to cool and then we can take it off the mold. If you prepared this in a tray, just leave it in there. You can cut it off. If you prepared it in a tin where you can lift it off, then it's nice to just take it out of the tin in a little while when it gets a bit colder.